to another episode of the Minorities Report podcast. My name is Antonio Alcazar.
And I'm Officer Techno Studio.
That's a weird name for a police officer.
Yeah, you know, I'm not a police officer. I'm a U.S. Marshal.
This program is brought to you by the Minority Report podcast Patreon. Actually, it's not brought to you by that yet.
No.
But, I mean, the Patreon's there.
Yeah, if you like what we're doing and you want more of what we're about to drop soon here with the Green Knight, special coverage of the Green Knight, brand new this last weekend.
Yeah.
You can look forward to us covering like brand new movies the week they come out, basically. So.
Yeah, Green Knight comes out simultaneously with this episode. So yeah, if you want to help us run the podcast, it is patreon.com/minorities report. Jason, today we watched The Fugitive, huh?
We watched The Fugitive, starring, well, first of all, 1993.
93, yeah.
The Fugitive.
Yeah. I was a little 4-year-old. I was, no, 5-year-old.
I was going to say, yeah, that's about right. I was 13, so.
Yeah. I was still waddling around. I was still picking my boogers.
Wow, shit.
Yeah.
Director of this, Andrew Davis. You're probably not familiar with him at all, but he...
Andrew Davis. I think I went to school with Andrew Davis.
Yeah, possibly the same one, clearly. Director at 5 years old. It was pretty fucking crazy. Directed some other films he did, Above the Law, Under Siege. Have you seen either one of those?
No, of course not.
Okay. Yeah, they were 90s actions starring Steven Seagal. Very successful movies as well.
Oh, yeah?
So, yeah, absolutely.
Was Steven Seagal as big of a thing as, like, legend has made him out to be? Because I wasn't around.
Yeah.
I definitely wasn't aware when he was, like, at the height of his career. Was he actually a big deal?
I would say in the 90s, he was as big as, like, Stallone and that stuff.
No way.
Yeah, not as big as those guys in the 80s, but those guys in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? So their star has leveled a little bit lower.
Yeah.
Like, he was never as big as Arnold.
I feel like those guys, Stallone and Arnold, are, like, the big dogs.
Yeah, because of the 80s work.
Okay.
So,
I just feel like Steven Seagal's legacy didn't, like, carry on as heavy.
No, of course not, because he had a shorter period of time that he was popular.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that's what that is. So
this one had Harrison Ford
and Tommy Lee Jones
and Thomas Lee Jones.
Thomas Lee Jones. I like that one. Tommy Lee Bones.
Tommy Lee Bones.
And other folks that were kind of in the talk for this movie: Kimball, Alec Baldwin, Nick Nolte, and Kevin Costner. All names from the 90s, early 90s names. Sure. So Nick Nolte would have had a different feel.
As Kimball.
Yeah, Kimball. Richard Kimball. Dr. Richard Kimball.
Alec Baldwin.
I can see that one easily.
Okay, yeah. I don't know if he would have had the same intensity.
Maybe not.
Nick Nolte?
So they were originally going to go with like an older version of him. And I'm glad they didn't. Yeah. Because it would have been a different type of movie.
Kimball's already pretty old, though.
Yeah, you know what's funny is Nick Nolte is 1 year older than Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
But he looks so much older than Harrison Ford, especially in the 90s.
He looks weathered.
Yes, exactly. A lot of drinking, heavy drinking. So,
and then
Kevin Costner's the one I could probably see the most. Like,
yeah.
Equal over, like, sort of thing.
It would have definitely felt like a different movie, but I could see Kevin Costner. I
don't think it would have been as successful with Kevin Costner.
Oh, yeah, Kevin Costner was a big deal, I thought.
Dances with Wolves, that was 89, I think. So, no, 91. So, yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, that could have worked.
Didn't Kevin Costner have some other shit going on, too? Not just
I think he did Waterworld around this time.
Yeah. No, Waterworld was like late 90s.
No, I think it was early 90s, dude.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yikes.
So, Geralt, other characters that were going to play him, Gene Hackman and John Voight. I could easily see both of those characters. John Voight played a character like this in Enemy of the State. Do you ever see that movie with Will Smith?
Yeah, I did see
and what's funny is Gene Hackman plays the other side in that same movie. So that's kind of funny that's and both those, I could see both those guys playing this character. I don't think it'd been as memorable or as
Tommy
famous.
Lee Jones always brings a very particular energy.
Yes, absolutely.
He had the same energy as Two-Face.
Interesting statement. I don't know if I feel
that's why he did a bad Two-Face. Because it was just Tommy Lee Jones.
Okay, I can see that. Lots of this film was directed in Chicago. A huge amount. The director is from Chicago, the same neighborhoods where a lot of this stuff was filmed. That's why we'll get to it later on, obviously, but so much of it felt very Chicago to me, at least as a person who's been in Chicago a bunch and like in a lot of the neighborhoods and whatnot, hanging out with different people in the early 2000s. Like this felt very Chicago to me, so I like that. And it's funny
Chicago
to me,
has like a real specific feel. It's weird. Yeah.
It's funny you say that because like in many ways, Chicago and New York are somewhat similar, but they are very different feels to them. Like I feel like Chicago feels more blue collar, whereas New York is more white collar.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chicago's more union, and where New York is more like free form.
They're both major metropolitan areas,
right?
Like effectively the same amount of people. You know, like not in total, but like
I mean,
you're going to see people walking around at the
Los
same
Angeles,
rate.
Chicago, yes, exactly, especially downtown.
Yeah. But like you can expect a more Midwest feel, I feel like.
Yeah.
There's something a little bit more homey about Chicago.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. And like
a lot more
not as
brown
fast.
long coats and not as many black long coats.
Yeah, not and I would say like probably the biggest difference is not quite as fast.
Sure. Okay.
Like I feel like New York living is like the fastest living there is.
Yeah.
And like it goes like lower to the coast, and like LA living is just like kind of no one moves fast. Like everyone's kind of just like, hey, it's hot, man. I can't move fast out here.
That's what's up, man.
You couldn't see me like doing my walk, but that's how people walk.
I hate that fast living shit. If you're walking fast, even relax, man. Where are you going?
I mean, people have money to make.
Take a step. Take a breath.
Wall Street, baby.
Yeah, for sure.
So we start off in Richard Kimball's house with some very Chicago-style detectives, man. These guys come on the scene, and I felt like these guys, I don't know why, but these guys feel so much more Chicago than New York, even though they're kind of the same as like a New York detective.
Did they have accents?
Yeah, they had a Chicago accent.
Okay, yeah.
Exactly.
I feel like that's
the
what
Midwest
does it,
Chicago
you know?
accent.
That
but even like the way they wear their glasses and shit like that, I felt like it was very Chicago weird shit.
Sure, yeah.
Harrison Ford shows up on the scene. He's got a beard, man, and this feels so odd to me. And I think it's just because like the guy never has facial hair in movies that he's in. Yeah,
well, so I didn't see it as very different because I have seen a lot of Harrison Ford recently.
Yeah.
And every time he does any kind of anything recently, he's got this like massive beard.
Yeah.
So I was just like, okay, this is just Harrison Ford.
For sure. I've totally forgot that this movie starts off like after the murder, and like they're already there, and then they go back to like play what actually happened.
There's a lot of like flashbacks.
Yes, exactly. Exactly that. And so
as the credits are rolling,
right,
you're watching the murder happen.
Right. And so they just bring him in for questioning. He's not under arrest or anything like that. He's not put in handcuffs.
The questioning was
but importantly, like there's reporters on the scene, and they're like talking about the murder, or they're talking about why they were called there, and he's let out, but he's not in handcuffs or anything like that. He's actually just led to the car, and they're placed in the car, and then they take him away.
There's already a presumption of.
Well, I think that's because more often than not, almost entirely, in fact. Murders like this are done by a significant other, right? It's never a break-in. Like, that is so
well, I don't know about never, but
that is so minute,
big,
right, that it doesn't... So, of course, the first suspect is Kimball.
They were just so aggressive about it.
Right. Well, because he was there.
They're, like, yelling at him almost.
Yeah. Well, no. He's like... Do you own a gun? Like, he literally says it like that. And he's like,
but they're like nonstop.
Of course, they're detectives.
They're not even letting him breathe.
They're detectives.
I loved when he was just like, you gotta find who, and he's like pointing.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
His point?
Well, because he point out. Well, here's
His pointing at people, though, is classic.
Right. You find this man. Yeah, exactly.
Find this man.
So, like, I know you were never involved in World of Warcraft.
I was never involved.
But there used to be a thing called Ventrilo, okay? And it was a talking...
I know Ventrilo.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm an early gamer.
For anybody who doesn't know, Ventrilo was a talk system, just like TeamSpeak, or what you use Discord for now.
It was early Discord.
Yes. Yeah. And what you would do is you would coordinate your raid that way, okay? And there was no, like, passwords or anything like that, unless you set up a password. And what people would do is Ventrilo raid all the time. And they would use, soundboards. And one of the most famous ones was The Fugitive. And it was all this. And it started off like, I'm Richard Kimball or whatever. And they'd be like, oh, hey, welcome or whatever. And like,
oh, no.
And then he would just get in there, you find this man. And they're like, what are you talking about? And like, so it was, there's a very funny ventrilo harassment thing with Fugitive. But it's all centered around this scene, right? He had a mechanical arm. So, I mean, here's the thing, right? Put cards on the table. She's worth a lot of money. Like, he's a doctor, but they point out
so I liked Tommy Lee's character in this because he was pointing out all the things that I was thinking while I was watching this.
Much later.
Yeah, but while I'm watching this, I'm thinking, this guy's a doctor. He's just going to brutally murder his wife. Come on.
I've seen plenty. Here's the thing, man.
Because he wasn't like trying to hide it. He brutally murdered this woman, and he was just like, oh, it was the one-armed man.
Yeah.
Although, wait a second. It was the one-armed man comes from this.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. Because that's been in so many jokes.
Of course. Right. Yes, absolutely.
That's so
I mean, here's the thing. She's worth a lot of money. Okay, importantly. All right. And like doctors have a lot of money, but she's like from a wealthy family.
Sure, yeah.
So like he might be
with
worth
a big life insurance claim on her,
and he might be worth a few $1 million, but I got the sense she's worth like $10 million. Like she's worth a lot more than he is because they even point out like he'll never have to worry about money again. Like, and he's a doctor, so that's like saying something.
I guess that seems sloppy. Sloppy on the part of the
most murders are sloppy.
Yeah, but I'd say look into it a little bit more. That seems too obvious.
Well, here's the other issue, though. There's no fingerprints but his, and there's no forced entry into the house.
Yeah.
So his story is someone broke into the house, killed his wife, he fought with that man got away.
And he had
There's no sign of a break-in. There's no sign of this person being in the house.
Sure.
So if you were a detective and somebody told you this story, you'd be like, oh, interesting story, right? Because literally everything, there's nothing to lead me to believe
there is only evidence that it was you.
That was you, right? Yeah. The murder weapon has your fingers on it.
Yep. She's got your skin underneath her fingernails.
Right, exactly.
Her scratches on your neck.
His explanation for that is kind of shit as well. Yeah. Like she just scratched him on accident when they were getting dressed.
No, when he was picking her up.
Right. I'm sorry. And the
recording said Richard.
Richard's trying to kill me.
Trying to kill me.
Right, and it sounds like Richard's trying to kill me. So like. There's a lot of evidence that's like not looking good for Kimball.
You know, as it was playing, I was just like, "Wow, they're really throwing the book at him with with brevity." But now that I'm talking it through, okay, I can see it.
Here's the issue I have with this.
I thought they were being really extreme. Like I was just like, "Wow,
let me be honest.
Kill him, huh?"
Something I don't like about this movie. We, as the audience, should not have seen him wrestle with this one-armed man in the beginning of the movie.
No. I disagree. Okay. I disagree right off the bat. I like that we knew he was innocent because there was a plot to discover who wasn't. I don't need to wonder whether or not it was actually him. I wanna watch an innocent man try to prove that he's not guilty. You know.
Okay. Yeah. I get you.
I think if I wouldn't have known whether or not he actually did it. I don't know. I feel like I don't need that. I like my protagonist to be a protagonist.
Are you suggesting I killed my wife? How dare you?
Yeah. And and Harrison Ford, he was like awake for this fucking performance.
Yeah, man. He was
giving it.
He was in there, man. And I want to. So then he's arrested. He's tried. He's sentenced. Proven guilty.
Throwing the book at him.
I'm going to tell you something, bro. I know you feel like this is a little meh. Yeah. I've watched like real life cases, less evidence in this convicted people to life. Yeah. Usually not death row. Like this is not enough evidence for death row. Usually this would be like. But I'm guessing what probably happened was they probably came to him with a plea. Like, this is me behind the scenes. They probably came to him with a plea. Like,
he was like, no, fuck that.
Right, exactly. You can get 15 years. You know, we'll say it's a crime of passion, whatever. 15 years, you'll be out of jail.
And he probably went, I didn't kill my wife.
Right, exactly. We saw the energy he had. I didn't kill my wife. Right, so you find this man. What I like about this movie right off the bat, this all happens and he's on his way to prison 15 minutes into the movie.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, it's just like, boom, he's gone. We are rocking and rolling.
This movie is 2 hours long.
Yes.
When that was happening, right, he's like, the credits are still rolling and he's already on the way to prison.
Yep.
I was like, you're going to fill 2 hours of actual fugitive shit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I will say this. You know what I felt like? the pacing of this movie is either going to be amazing or terrible. Right. It's got one or the other. There's nothing in between that. Okay.
Yeah.
So we get to, he's traveling to prison. We get a jackass black guy. What? And then Kimball, they're like, Kimball? Yeah. Like, dude, you're in death. How can you be so calm?
He was super zen.
Yeah.
For sure.
He's just like, yep,
it looks like he was about to go die.
Right.
Yeah,
he's like, yeah.
He was already resigned to it.
Is what it is. Right.
If what happened hadn't have happened,
yes,
he'd have died.
Yes.
Yeah, that would have been it.
Well, I mean, like, usually no. Like, it takes, like, Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
Like,
it takes like 30 years.
Yeah,
but what I'm saying is, like, this movie expedited it.
Right.
In fact, when I was watching it, I was just like, it'd be so funny if he then just goes and dies. And the movie was 15 minutes long, and it was just that little sequence.
Right, it's like one of those memes or whatever, like, directed by George Lucas, So, that is awesome. So they get on the bus, they're starting to head down to the new prison. Guy fakes, of course, seizure or whatever.
Dude, he gets blown to death.
Well, he fakes a seizure.
Yeah.
The
Wilford Brimley.
young guy comes back there.
Yeah.
Wilford Brimley lookalike is like, don't go back there. We're almost there. Even though they just left.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's going to be a 2-hour trip. Like, a couple minutes later, this starts happening. He's like, we're almost there.
Yeah.
Like, you're an hour away at least, dude. Like, we're not almost there. This guy's
even
seizuring.
if we were there.
Right.
This guy's about to die.
Right.
So I'm going to figure it out. Yeah.
And he opens it, and man, he gets a fucking toothbrush to the gut.
He gets shivved right in the gut.
That does not feel. That feels to me terrible for him. Like, I'm feeling it. I'm like, ooh, that would hurt. Right.
Yeah, for sure.
And then for his valiant effort of stabbing, as you point out, he gets blown the fuck away by Wilford Brimley's brother. Like, just shot in his shit, bro. Like, boom!
Instant kills,
right?
Dude. Yeah, for sure.
Then the black guy starts wrestling with him over the gun, and this is why they don't have armed guards in most of these situations, because he's able to wrestle the gun away. They blast the driver, which sends it over the fucking thing. It goes crazy.
Yeah,
and we, whew, man.
Yeah, the fact that nobody died as a result of the train crash. Oh no,
absolutely.
The other white guy did.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the bus flips over. Man, it looks so real.
Dude, so another thing that I thought when this happened was just like, how expensive was this fucking shot? Because all of it was like practical effects. Like, this was like a real train that they derailed.
We'll get to that. So,
dude, that was so crazy. The actual bus flips over, and then an actual train hits it.
Yes.
I was just
so like Kimball's like,
this would have been a digital effect now.
The guy's like, hey, help me out here or whatever, right? And he's like, okay. The guy's like, hey, come help me, Kimball, you're a doctor or whatever. Yeah, Kimball's like, throw me the fucking keys and I'll help you. So he throws him the keys, unlocks him, gets over, drops the keys. The black guy picks him up. He goes over to help the dude, right? And he's like, all right, help me, I need a hand. Because, like, you hear the train coming. Help me, I need a hand with it. Hell with you. And he like,
Wilford Brimley's brother is the fuck out of there.
He's fucking gone. The black guy, he's like, hey, whatever the black guy's name is, help me. He's like, hell with you, doctor. And he just, like, runs off, to which, whatever, I get it, And then, of course, he helps him.
I feel like that's establishing a long pattern here.
Of course.
Throughout the movie, this dude is just helping everyone in his way.
Yeah. I mean, he's a doctor.
He's a good
dude.
dude.
Yeah, he's a good doctor. Yeah. And this is what, like, this is a good representation, in my opinion, of doctors, because this is what most doctors out there are. Like, good people who want to help. Like, help people. That's one of the reasons they get into being a doctor, usually. Okay? Not always. Like, especially not like, what are those called? Plastic surgery doctors and whatever. They're trying to be rich. But
I assume that anybody who gets into a giant field like that is probably looking for some kind of cash back.
Oh, not me.
That's not to say that I don't think any doctor is actually trying to help people.
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
1993, bro. Mm-hmm. This bus getting hit by the train. Mm-hmm. Top-notch special effects.
Insane.
Like, right, exactly.
Insane.
Like, just
I was
ridiculously good. Yeah, I know.
I couldn't believe it.
I was rewatching this movie. I was shocked, like, how awesome the train hit was. It's just, it's crazy, and we'll get to why.
Sure.
Kimball ultimately rescues the black guy.
Yeah.
And he takes the fuck off at this point. He gets to the hospital, and I got to tell you, man, this prison uniform ain't too great. It's not very, like, you want prison uniforms to be
orange.
Right, exactly.
You want that shit to look like you just got out of prison. Right. You don't want to also kind of maybe be a janitor.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Like, this is like a janitor's uniform, man. Like, holy fuck, this thing,
It's literally a layup to getting away with escaping.
Absolutely.
Because it's like saying, this is going to also blend in. Go ahead.
And he gets into a guy's room, jacks his stuff and whatnot, get some food, get all that stuff.
Dude, when he was eating his food, I was just like, that poor old dude.
Yeah. The old dude doesn't need it.
What?
The old dude didn't need it.
Dude, the old dude was getting food.
Yeah.
They're not going to give somebody food like that unless they can actually eat it.
I don't know.
Otherwise, they just put liquids in them. This old dude probably woke up and he was just like, the fuck, man? Like, I'm fucking hungry.
Guess what? He can order more food. So, so Kimball starts to take off. Ambulance shows up.
Also, they refill the dude's water out of the sink.
Yeah.
That's gross.
Why?
That doesn't happen in a hospital.
Oh, that's 90s, baby. That's some 90s shit right there, baby. Yeah, absolutely. We all did that. I mean, we used to drink out of fucking water hoses in our backyard.
Oh.
Yeah.
With all that lead in there?
Absolutely.
Yikes.
You know.
You should go check yourself for lead poisoning.
I'll check myself before I wreck myself. So he gets out there, and then the black guard is actually on his way in. Mm-hmm. And he's like,
when he shuts him up.
Yeah, he's like, puts the thing on it, and he's like, he says something about like, make sure they check whatever where he was stabbed. I don't remember the exact name.
How could you tell that?
Right. He's like, how can he check? So know that by looking at his face or whatever. He runs off, jacks that fucking ambulance, and takes off. Tommy Lee Jones shows up on the scene of the prison break. The lead, sheriff of the area is talking to Wilford Brimley's brother. Mm-hmm. And Wilford Brimley's brother is, of course, giving the bullshit story. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I rescued him. I threw him out or whatever, this and that, blah, blah, blah. And everybody else died, though, or whatnot. And he's like, are you sure everybody died? He's like, I'm 100% sure they all died. Yeah. And then one of... Tommy Lee Jones is like, okay, we'll find the bodies or whatever. And the sheriff's like, get the fuck out of here. We don't need to find the bodies. They got to, obliterate it or whatnot. He's like, well, okay, it is what it is. And then one of his guys.
Oh, he like right away, he's just like, oh yeah, you don't want to do your job. That's fine. I'll do your job for you.
Right. He's like,
I'll take over the
exactly. If you don't want to do it. Yeah. And then he shows up with one of his partners shows up with the leg chains. Yeah. And he's like, oh, hey, look at this. We always like to see leg chains without legs in them.
They look at Wilford Brimley's brother. They're just like, you gonna?
What does he say? He says, "Would you like to adapt your story?" And he goes, "What do you mean? Yeah. Do you want to change your bullshit story?"
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And then he's like, "All right, well, he might have got away or whatnot." And they start to chase after him, and of course, they get a report that an ambulance was stolen from that place. So they start to chase him down. The ambulance is.
They immediately find him too.
Right, they find him right away.
Gotcha.
Get him in a tunnel. Yeah. He's fucked in this tunnel.
Yeah. I was very surprised how immediate, like how they were always like
1 inch behind him. Yeah, absolutely.
It never felt like he was ahead by more than 5 minutes.
Yes, yeah. I agree.
Which added to a tremendous amount of anxiety.
Right, of course. That's the whole point of it. Mm-hmm. That to me is pretty realistic, though. Like, I've watched, like, Almost Got Away with It and stuff like that, where they talk about, like, people that break out and they hunt them down and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And it is one of these things where they're, like, always an inch behind and stuff like that, and nobody can ever rest. And then what they'll usually do is after, like, if they can't get to you within the first, like, week or something like that, they'll then kind of let you go a little bit and relax.
And hope they fuck up.
And let you get reestablished in life somewhere and then come and fucking get you.
And he did make that point later on.
Yes, of course. Yep. So they chase him into the tunnel. They follow him into the tunnels, and he ends up, Tommy Lee Jones slips, falls, loses his gun. Gets back up. Harrison Ford's sitting there with his gun, and what does he tell him? I didn't kill my wife. I don't care, dude. What a line, man. What a fucking I wonder to myself, like, if that was like the line he was told to give, or if Tommy Lee Jones is just like, who cares? This is perfect right here. Yeah, exactly. Right. Like that's as somebody pointed out on our podcast. Right. This is like the lawful neutral as fuck thing right here. Like, dude, I don't give a fuck if you killed your wife. That's not my job to decide if you killed your wife or not. Yeah. You are on the run from the law, and I'm going to catch you and bring you back in and whatnot. And so eventually he catches up with him, gets the drop on Kimball, has a gun on him, and he gives him the whole, get on your knees or whatever. And Kimball takes a fucking dive off that goddamn thing.
And then he dies.
He dies.
Yeah, and that's the end of the movie.
So let me mention one thing I wish that they would have done in this movie.
He dropped like
a long way.
300.
A livable amount of drop.
Yeah?
But, oh yeah, absolutely. But not for a normal person.
Maybe if he slid.
I wish at some point, because then he gets out of the water, he like kind of bandages himself up because he's kind of cut and whatnot.
Yeah.
And he gets to a road, and then a woman picks him up on the road and they take off. Yeah. Now, I wish, this movie to me is very interesting. I wish there was a line that was like, he got his medical training while he was in the Marine Corps or something like that. Like, I wish there would have been some sort of like...
To teach him how to fall.
Yeah, and teach him how to survive in all this shit, man. Like, because earlier they're like, a guy could only travel so far, in this amount of time, but he's further than that zone already. So, like, he's clearly like this super fit dude, super smart, and it's almost a little too much. Yeah. Like, I really wish there would have been a reason why he was able to... And I wish it was like he was Army Special Forces.
Just one little throwaway line was just like, hey, Chief, you're going to want to know that before he did this, he was Army Special Forces.
Right, and exactly. Something like that. Right. Yeah. Nothing that matters past that. Or like Marine Corps Recon or something like that. Just so it would have been like he had some kind of extra training.
Or isn't there like a specific kind of like the most dangerous military job? Isn't it the like...
like SEALs, you mean?
No, even more than that. Isn't it like people who go like rescue?
Yeah, para search and rescue.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty hardcore.
If they would have said that. Like, it would have been like, he used to be para search and rescue before he became a doctor or some shit.
Literally anything.
I would have been like, okay.
I mean, you could have been like, he was an infantryman. I fucking just anything.
He was a Boy Scout troop leader.
Right, he was a Boy Scout troop leader. Yeah, for sure. He had all of his ribbons.
Yeah,
like
every single patch that you can have, he had those.
He got them.
Yeah.
So they basically, everybody other than Tommy Lee Jones is like, that dude is fucking dead. Like, there is no way you could survive this. And that's again why I wish
Cypher from the Matrix was just like, oh, so we can go home now.
Yes, yeah, exactly. He's just like, all right, time to get the fuck out of here or whatnot. And he's like, well, if he's dead, it'll be very easy to find the body then. Yeah. So let's drag the turn. And why the fuck is that thing still on or whatever? Because he's trying to get the dam shut off and everything else. And
it's funny when every time he was in the water, especially early on in the movie, I was thinking, I would just let the water take me for a while.
Yeah,
because you're not leaving any prints, you're not spending any energy. I'd just be like, I'm going to chill in this river for a while.
Yeah. I mean, he does for a little while, and then we don't know where he gets out at. He just gets out eventually. So
and he goes to St. Louis.
Yep. And he gets a ride, and the next scene, I love this, because the next scene is them, and they're on track now. And they're like, hey, he was picked up by a woman. She picked him up after work, took him back to her house. We know where he's at now or whatnot. And then they start to go in to get Kimball.
Yeah.
And they get to the house that he's at. They get in the house, and it's like a black woman though that's there, and so you're instantly like, oh wait, what? And then it's of course that black guy that got escaped, and there's a whole scene where he takes control of the one of the marshals, and Tommy Lee Jones doesn't give a fuck and just shoots him right in the fucking head.
when they busted the door down, I was just like, oh, they're gonna get some information out of him or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And then when he kills him, I'm like, they don't even want to interview him?
Yeah. No, he's like, can I tell you something? I don't bargain, right? And this is an important, I feel like there are a lot of scenes, like you point out, like him helping people earlier. There's a lot of scenes like this that are just important to the overall character development of these people and whatnot. Like, now, you've had the interaction earlier where he doesn't care that he killed his wife or not. Yep. This interaction right here. So you're just building more of Tommy Lee Jones' character. Awesome.
They're making sure that Tommy Lee Jones,
no nonsense,
is doing his job.
Yeah.
Period.
Absolutely. So, let me say this too. Harrison Ford gets picked up by a woman on her way home, right? This only happens with a white guy. Ain't no black guy in the middle of nowhere getting picked up from a woman. Hey, where you going? All right, come on in or whatnot. That's not happening. So, So Richard gets back up to Chicago and he starts to do some research at this point. He runs into his old buddy, Nichols.
Yeah,
Nichols.
Dr. Nichols.
Yep. Gives him some money and whatnot. And the marshals figure out that he is in Chicago because of the train and this and that. It doesn't matter. It's a little silly, but they figure out.
It was cool.
I mean, yeah.
You know why I thought it was cool?
Well, okay, give it to me.
I feel like there was a lot of work done to make it so that what in past movies seemed a little tropey.
Okay.
Wasn't leaned on in this movie.
Sure.
So, like, where they're just like, oh, that's an L train. I loved that Tommy Lee Jones instantly was just like, oh, you know that? Why? Because you got the best hearing in the fucking planet, you know? Like, I liked that
I get you. I get you. And, like, not only that, they're like, there's 4 cities with L trains, so that means absolutely nothing. But then they hear in the background, there's a little, like, next stop, whatever the hell, and then that's how they start to figure out where he's at.
I liked the attention to reality.
Sure. Yeah, I'm sure they had like a U.S. Marshal or someone in the know kind of on the set to help develop all this shit.
Sure, yeah.
So it's just like a military movie or anything else where they try to have somebody on the set or like mafia movies and shit. So the Marshals track him back to Chicago. They talk to Dr. Nichols, and they're not like confronting Dr. Nichols because they ran into Kimball or anything like that. They just want to talk to him because he knew Kimball. In fact, that's what they say, that he worked with Kimball. Yeah. And the doctor's just like, yeah, I saw Kimball today. And
I literally saw him just like,
and they're like, wait, what? Yeah. You know, like they're like blown away or whatnot. Yeah. And he's like, he kind of like teases him a little bit. He's like, look, this guy is ridiculously smart. And they're like, we're pretty smart guys. And he's like, you're not Richard Kimball smart. Yeah. That's basically what he tells you. You're not as smart as he is.
Are you Richard Kimball smart? He's like, no. Even I'm not Richard
I'm not that smart. Right, exactly. He's even smarter than me. There's no way you're going to catch him if he doesn't want to be caught in the long run. So, but he's here for a reason. So they now know that there's a reason he's in Chicago. So he's not going to be leaving Chicago or anything like that. Yeah. They just need to let him settle in a little bit, and then they can catch up.
And that's what he said. He's just like, okay, now let's just give him a little space. Let him feel a little comfortable.
Right, exactly. And then they start to talk to some of his other colleagues, and we find out from Miss You Can't Bullshit a Bullshitter.
Yeah, that Miss, next time you want to bullshit somebody, bullshit each other instead. Jane Lynch. As soon as I saw Jane Lynch in this movie, I was like, oh, that's crazy.
Exactly. And she's another old friend of his, and she says the same thing. Just like this dude can blend in, he's gonna be here for a reason. And and they're like, well, you know, what is he? If he talks to you, would you let us know or whatever? He's like, she's not gonna talk to me. Like he's way too smart for this or whatnot. And so at this point, Richard is like, okay, I got to get my life together and kind of like set myself up so that I can start to get this shit figured out. Yeah. So he rents a house from like a Polish lady, basically, a little Polish lady underneath, and it's very quiet downstairs place and whatnot, so it's perfect for him. Yeah. He steals an ID, gets his ID set up, and now we get like kind of a montage.
Because what he wants to do is he wants to figure out who the one-armed man was.
Right, exactly.
So he's just like, all right, let's go see what kind of prosthetics these are.
Yes.
And then we'll start working from there.
Right.
So and goes to the prosthetic
I think this is like, as silly as this is, or this could be conceived as silly, I think this is important, like you point out earlier. Just because he's a doctor, there's like 100 different types of doctors and whatnot. So he's not going to know everything about this other thing. So he has to like do all this research on which are, what part of the thing. And he
did all of it.
Yes.
Like he found an ID, sold the ID, forged the ID, went to the prosthetics lab multiple times, scouted it first, then went in as a janitor. Like there was so much work done to just be like, this is how he got it.
Yes.
And the IDs and things like that later on were just like, had to be abandoned at certain times. They weren't got him caught. The attention to detail was so I talk about having to suspend my disbelief a lot.
Sure.
It's actually what pulls me out of movies
of course.
The quickest. The moment I have to be like, that's a little bit of this movie went so above and beyond so that I wouldn't have to do that.
Yeah. And I would say the other thing that's good about this scene to me is it's not told as just that. This is, like 80s used to have montages all the time. Mm-hmm. They do this as a montage, but it's a very good montage to me because you're seeing him, but you're also seeing Tommy Lee Jones like do the little things to try to catch up with him, and he's always a couple steps behind of what he's doing and shit like that, and they're trying to figure out exactly where he's going to be next. And so they have this cool cat and mouse montage of what's going on and whatnot. And so when he's at the hospital one day, though, he's almost got everything together, and he's got almost all the information, and he's there and he's doing his thing, and it's kind of hectic. And
that's when he finally has the paperwork.
Yes,
like he went in as a janitor. He narrowed it down to 5 potential people who have this specific prosthetic.
Correct.
And then he's just like, okay, it's one of these fucking 5 people. There's no way that it's not. He's leaving the hospital, and he can't leave because all of the hecticness that's going on, and that's when he sees that little boy.
And it's important, the day before this, I think, isn't it the day before this, the cops show up at his house. And they break in and they he's going crazy. Turns out
like that morning.
They're there, right? Yeah. You're right. They're there to bust the Polish dude, and they're drug dealers basically. And so they arrest the Polish dude. And so while he's at the hospital and he's doing his thing, the Polish dude, we see like him on the other side, and he snitches out Kimball, like, "Hey, I'm pretty sure that's that guy that was there." And those two the only two detectives in all of Chicago are there to take this guy's information, of course. And so as you point out, there's a kid there. He's got a bad chest, and there's a doctor there, and that doctor's a fucking idiot. So he's like, he's just got this other thing going on. And you see Kimball kind of like saying, check the thing or whatever. And Julian Moore says, "Hey, take this kid over to, room 14 or whatever, please." And so he's like, "Okay, cool." So he starts to take him up. He's looking at the paperwork and everything like that, realizes this guy's a fucking idiot. Yeah. This is actually what's wrong with the kid. Yeah. Takes him to the right place, to surgery, forges the documents and all that shit. And takes him to the right place, gets this kid, saves this kid's fucking life doing this. Comes down, Julian Moore busts him, and is like, "Yeah, you're a janitor, hey?" Like, and this and that. Like, that's kind of weird that you're a janitor and you know how to read fucking x-rays and shit like
Reading
that.
Reading the x-rays and taking them to a different place.
He's like, "Yeah, I do that as a side business or whatever, right? Yeah,
it's my hobby.
It's my hobby." That's what he says, right? I gotta tell you, man, not an emotional guy at all. Mm-hmm. That scene with the black kid got me a little emotional. I was like a little like, just like this dude is just a good dude.
He's a good dude.
He's such a good dude, right?
He's the way he's talking to the kid too. He's like real doctor, calming him down. And he's just like, "You're gonna be okay," Like he's like, "Fuck it, I might get in trouble, but I'm not gonna let this kid die."
Right, exactly. Like this kid's life is more important than my life. Is what I really read it as. Is I'll get caught before I let this kid die. Sure, is what it boiled down to me. And that's again, the doctor thing. Especially on movies. So Julian Moore calls the cops and
he escapes.
He escapes. Gerard shows up and he's like, what happened or whatever, this and that. And she's kind of like, and he says, all you did is take his ID. And he's like, well, I tried to call, but he ran off. I also
like that. Yeah. I liked that. Yeah. Where he was just like, why the fuck did you do something this stupid?
Right.
Because that was like, I also thought that when she's like, wait right here. And she took the ID and like, hey, call security. And then he dipped. I was just like, of course he's going to dip. Right. And then Tommy Lee Jones is like, of course he's going to dip. Right.
And she's like, what was I supposed to do? I called security and whatnot. And she's like, and then Tommy Lee Jones is like, so what ended up happening with the kid or whatever? And he's like, oh yeah, that guy saved his life. He would have died otherwise. So
I feel like that's when Tommy Lee Jones was just like,
I was going to say, this is the first time he's having second thoughts. Yeah. Because he's opening the thing, or like, right after he says it, he's kind of even like thinking at that point in time. And he kind of...
Because like, why the fuck? Why in all of the good fuck?
Yes.
Would he stop to save someone's life?
Right. And more importantly, his friend comes up and he's like... You're Richard Kimball. You're the smart guy. Yeah. What the fuck are you doing in this hospital? Why would you be here? Yeah. And
you are risking a lot.
Right. Yeah. And right when he says that, a one-armed man walks by them, and they follow that one-armed man into the prosthetics, and they start to figure out why he's there. Yeah. So
like, oh, this dude's legitimately trying to prove his innocence.
Right. Exactly. And so they start to leave. And Richard starts to call all the different people. Yeah. He finds out that a couple of dudes are dead. So one dude is dead. One dude is in prison. Yeah. Another dude is like out of the country or something like that.
The prison dude, though, that's when he was just like, okay.
We're going to get to that. Yeah. So he goes to the prison to go talk to this guy. And I love this scene. He's like, sits down. The guy comes out and he's like, who the fuck are you or whatever? He's like, oh, I'm sorry, I was the wrong person. He's like, well, you better talk to me about something.
Yeah, man. He's like, well, we got some time, man. Like, I don't want to just go back.
Right, exactly.
Like, so I wish I could.
Sorry, man. Yeah, I gotta get going.
But at the same time,
they
also researched the prosthetic shit. And they didn't get as close as he did because he narrowed it down to 5 dudes.
Yes.
They could only narrow it down to like 37 people or something, 47 people. But then he was just like, okay, cross-reference that with anybody who's got a criminal record.
Yep.
And so that's why they ended up at the same fucking location.
The first person they're going to talk to is the guy Kimball just came to talk to.
Yep.
And so they show up and they're trying to get on the elevator and whatnot. And Tommy Lee Jones is like, fuck this, I'm not waiting for the elevator. I'm going to start to go, take the stairs. So they take the stairs. Kimball's taking the other set of stairs. They eventually get to a point where Tommy Lee Jones just happens to look over and sees a guy he think might be. It looks kind of similar to Richard.
Yeah.
So he walks over there, and this scene shows human nature, right?
Yeah.
Because
you hear your name, you're instantly like,
right. You look because he's like Richard, and he looks up. Now you would say in hindsight, nobody would do that because you would just keep walking. Of course you would do.
For sure.
Right. People call a name similar to yours, and you turn around to look. You know,
if I'm running down the stairs and somebody screams my name, I would jerk. You know?
You're like, what the fuck? Right. Even if you're on the run, you still have those human instincts, you know, and whatnot. So it seems so silly, but it's so realistic, right? Yeah. And so he starts to chase after his ass, gets down to him. Eventually,
now this is, I think, the only part in the movie where I was just like, he doesn't have like a walkie-talkie on him.
Yeah,
because like he's just chasing this guy. Like it never does he take out a fucking walkie-talkie and go, I'm chasing him. Close all doors. Like, he just chases him without telling anybody.
Yeah, right. He gets to a certain point where Richard gets onto a floor, starts to take off, okay, on that floor.
He tells the cop, there's a guy chasing me, he's got a gun.
No, he goes, there's a guy waving a gun in a blue overcoat back there or not. What a fucking smart thing to do, right? Sure. You know, like, you see the cops, you're like, hey, that guy's got a gun or whatever. And because he doesn't look like a cop or anything like that, of course they're going to stop the guy. And he's got a gun in his hand. Sure. You know?
Literally waving a gun.
So they stop Tommy Lee Jones. The black guy comes out at the same time. He's like, he's a marshal or whatever, right? And they're like, we're after that guy or whatever. So they start to get after him.
They close the doors.
They're trying to close the door. Close the blast doors. Close the blast doors. I love the cop that tries to reach for him and falls over. Kimball gets away by the skin of his teeth, dude. And at this point still,
I like that Tommy Lee Jones shoots his ass.
Yes.
Like he's just like, in this moment, I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah, you're still running away from the cops. Yeah. You're still a threat. You know, because to me, you're still a murderer. Sure. So just starts unloading shots at him.
But because it was like the state house glass. Or whatever, it's bulletproof glass.
Of course. So
clever.
He gets out into the lobby area. The other cops, at some point, they must have talked to the other cops because the other cops go all the way to the roof. Yeah. They see him running out. They're like, he's crossing across
and even if they didn't tell the cops to go on the roof, like there wasn't any communication, one of the things that I also liked about this is that at the very least, Tommy Lee Jones's crew, all of them were good at their job.
Teammates.
Yeah.
It's a team.
None of them were like the oafish, he got away from me. Yeah. Everyone, from the kid with the ponytail to Cypher from the Matrix to the black guy, all of them were like, and the other white guy, and the black lady, all of them were about their fucking business, and none of them were a detriment to the team. No. I like that trope didn't exist here.
Yeah, because even the kid with the ponytail you thought might have started to be a detriment to the team, but he actually plays an important role later on, too. Exactly.
I even thought that he was going to be somehow involved because of how much of a role he was playing, and he wasn't. He was just good at his fucking job.
Another marshal. Yeah, right. Exactly. Wow. So they chase after his ass, and he jumps into the Chicago St. Patrick's Day parade. Yeah, which made me think, fuck, we should have done this for St. Patrick's Day. But anyways,
I'm so glad that we dropped all those fucking themes, dude.
Funny, they're coming back in November. So actually October.
Fine. I feel like we should just do the October and the December.
So I'm going to go behind the scenes here, which I usually do at the end.
Okay.
So he gets into the middle of that Teamster area, right, with his hat on, takes off his coat. Yeah. And did you look at any of the Teamsters around him?
No.
They're smiling, and stuff like that, right? This happened in real life.
Sure.
They filmed this in the parade, and he ran into the parade. Nobody knew Harrison Ford was going to be in this situation, and he's marching in the real St. Patrick's Day parade next to those people. That's why if you rewatch the scene, the guys are trying not to laugh or smile or anything like that all around him and shit.
They weren't told?
No. Only the mayor and the leader of the parade were told, but the people in the parade had no idea whatsoever.
They weren't even told, hey, there's going to be cameras?
No. And so on top of that, people just thought they were filming the actual parade and shit.
Oh, okay. So that's crazy. Yeah, that's risky.
That is insanity, dude.
That's risk.
But we'll get to a couple of reasons why later on and whatnot. But yeah, it makes me laugh out loud when I was watching it because the Teamster right behind Harrison Ford is trying so hard to keep a straight face and shit like that. And he's got his sunglasses on and everything else. Sure. So he eventually gets away, of course, with the crowd, and he continues to do his searching, and he gets to the correct guy's house finally. Sykes. Thank you. So, and as soon as he walks in, he looks at a picture and he's like, "That's the fucking guy right there. That's him." Sure. Yeah. But why the fuck did this guy kill my wife? Like, it makes like I've never even seen this guy before.
So he starts
like,
going through like his papers. And shit, and he finds check stubs from the pharmaceutical.
Well, more importantly, before that, he sees a picture that he was on a fishing trip with another doctor.
No, not with a doctor, with the pharmaceutical guy.
No. There's a third doctor as well in this, because I'm going to get to why that third doctor is important.
Okay.
So he sees a picture with him and that other doctor, and they were on a fishing trip, and he thinks about it, and he's like, I remember that, talking to that doctor, this and that. Then he sees the picture with that doctor, the pharmaceutical guy, and that guy, and the three of them are together with another dude that are all on this one other picture and whatnot. Okay, so he sees the check stubs, and he starts to figure out exactly. He's like, wait, I remember this company. And he starts to remember all this different shit and talking about this company's thing, and that he was going to do some testing for the thing and whatnot. So,
and he remembers that when he was in the surgery, this the person that they were doing surgery for last minute had some liver issue.
Right.
That he was just like, oh, I think this is like because of the new fucking medicine or whatever.
Yes, and it's going to be problematic for
because this is one of his test patients. It was one of the test patients for that pharmaceutical new drug. Yeah.
Absolutely. And at this point, we cut over to Gerard, and they get a call from another Richard Kimball, and they're like, all right, put him through or whatever. And then it's Richard Kimball.
Yeah.
And so they're like, keep him on the phone. So he's just talking, and he's like, hey, remember when I told you or whatever that you didn't kill your wife? And I remember, and he says something about that he's on, he knows some shit or whatever, this and that.
On a big piece of the puzzle.
Right. And he's like trying to keep him talking, and then he hangs up.
No, he doesn't.
But he doesn't hang up.
Yeah,
he slams it on the thing. So it sounds like it hangs up, but he clearly didn't hang up. So like
he wants him to find him.
Of course he does, right? That's the whole point to that.
And I feel like at this point, Tommy Lee Jones wants to figure out what he is figuring out, because that way he can find him.
Yes.
So it's not necessarily that he cares so much about the puzzle.
Right.
It's just, well, if I can figure out what he's doing,
yes,
then I can catch up to him.
I think one of the important parts
be a step ahead.
Like if you watch any like law enforcement stuff and whatnot too, he plays this perfectly to me, because he's like you just pointed out, and law enforcement hate when like a criminal is smarter than them, and they're like, they want to get to like foil that criminal to be like, because it's kind of a flex nuts situation. Like, I was smarter than you, basically, even though you thought you were as smart as you possibly were.
But if we can figure out what the fuck he's talking about, we can figure out where he's going.
Exactly that. So he heads back to his old hospital, and he talks to his boy Bones. Yeah. And he gets
more importantly, he calls his friend again.
Nichols.
You're
right.
And he's just like, hey man, I think I'm onto something.
Yep.
Call Bones for me.
Yep.
Let him know I'm coming so he can figure this out. I don't get why Nichols helped him. Maybe he was still like, oh, I'm not going to get caught as long as I keep helping,
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of that.
Because if it would have been like, I can't help you, he would have been like, why the fuck can't you?
No, because he's going to have Sykes kill Kimball still.
Oh, yeah, maybe he was just like, yeah, I'm going to kill him anyway. Who gives a fuck?
Right, exactly. So he's like, that's fine.
And that way, at the very least, that's probably why. Yeah. Because now he knows where he's going to be, so he sends Sykes to kill him.
Yes.
And Sykes ends up showing up there.
Correct.
He doesn't find him, but, that was probably it.
Right. Yeah. Because when Sykes shows up there, the actual U.S. Marshals are there. Sure. So he's
like, I'll totally tell you where to go. That way I know where you're going to be.
Absolutely. So he gets his shit and he takes off, and everything's coming together for him at this point, because he goes to see the bullshitter. The bullshitter shows him the livers. They have 3 samples of the liver or whatnot, but it's how is this?
So it's 3 samples of the liver. Yes. None of them are damaged.
Right.
But they're all the same from the same person.
Yes.
So it's supposed to be 3 separate samples of the liver, and it's actually 3 samples from the same liver. So it's obviously been doctored.
Right. And there's something that doctored this over and whatnot. So,
and then she's the one that figures out, that's weird. This guy's dead?
Yes.
But a lot of these samples were cleared the day he died.
Yes.
So there's probably somebody else working with him.
Yes.
And then he was just like, I got to go see about a girl.
And they need to figure out that this, and then they also figure out that this doctor was killed in a car crash, but it wasn't really a car crash. It was a guy running into him and killing him, knocking him over into the ocean.
But in this moment, he just figured it out.
Yes. Yeah. And importantly, so in real life, this doctor, he was supposed to be in the movie, this and that, blah, blah, blah. He died Okay, the guy who played this doctor in real life, he died. He was very sick at the end, and he couldn't finish filming. So they worked in this like death of this doctor into the actual script. He actually died 2 weeks after this movie came out, too.
Oh, no way.
In real life, yes.
That's crazy.
The guy who plays this doctor that was important to the role as well. So Sykes is talking to Nichols. We know that, although we don't actually hear who he's talking to. He's like, yeah, no, I looked over there. He's not there. This and that, blah, blah, blah. And at that point, Sykes sees him. Yeah. And he's like, wait a second, I'm on him. Yeah. So he gets onto the train. They have a little train scene and whatnot. Sykes gets up, tries to accost Kimball, but at that point, a Chicago Police Department guy, he says, Kimball, or whatever, that dude, Sykes, turns around, guns the fuck out of that police officer, and then Kimball beats the shit out of Sykes, locks his ass up, leaves his ass there, takes off, goes to the Hilton to go confront his friend, because now he's got everything put together. Okay. Tommy Lee Jones finds out that a cop was just killed. They think Kimball killed the cop, so they now really need to get their asses in gear because the Chicago Police Department is going to be gun-ho to take this fucker out. So the cops show up at the Hilton as well, and
because they saw him coming in, but by this point, Tommy Lee Jones also knows.
He knows where he's going. Yes, exactly.
But he also knows that he's not guilty of this.
Right.
He's also figured it out by this point.
Well, because they talk to Bones and everything else, and they know pretty much everything that Kimball knows at this point. Not everything, but most of what Kimball knows at this point.
And Tommy Lee Jones is like on it. He's like sharp. He's like, okay, I see where this goes. Yeah, where this went.
Exactly. So, at this point, Kimball, confronts Nichols in front of everybody, and he just like lets it known, and he faked his results, this and that, blah, 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 to everybody. And they start to go to another room, and then they just start fighting right away. And then the fighting
breaks with a chair, bro.
Yeah, bro.
Instantly.
It just gets out of control
now,
fighting.
This, I felt like, was a very 90s scene.
Yeah.
It reminded me of Commando, actually.
Sure.
Where they're like in the pipes, fighting each other and shit. I was just like, this is a very like, oh, I'm over here and I'm over here, kind of like drawn out kind of thing.
For sure.
It was okay.
Yeah, and so they're fighting throughout the pipes. Tommy Lee Jones knows that they're there. They chase him into the pipe room as well. Cyrus comes with them as well. And then Tommy Lee Jones, they can't find him, and Tommy Lee Jones just starts talking. He's just like, Richard, give it up or whatnot. And he's like, either, I know what's really happened. I know you didn't kill your wife.
Where he's just like, man, I know it wasn't you, okay?
Yeah.
Like,
just come out.
Let's do this together.
Either I'm lying and you're going to get shot, whatever, right? Like, so he's like, or you could trust me or whatnot. And at this point, Cyrus takes a fucking support beam to the face from that other doctor. I was like, this would just straight fucking kill you. Like, he turns around and support beam right to the face.
Cracked skull, dude.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Nichols takes his gun. He's going to try to get the drop on Tommy Lee Jones, and Harrison Ford jumps him and fucking knocks him down with a pipe.
Yeah, for sure.
And Tommy Lee Jones has his gun on him, but he just drops the pipe, and it's just kind of like, all right.
Yeah.
They do
you got what you were looking for. You got me to believe you.
Yes.
Let's go deal with this.
Yep. And they put him under arrest. They take him out to the U.S. Marshal's car, and then he takes off with the handcuffs, and he's like, I thought you didn't care. And he's like, I don't. Don't tell anybody else.
Sure,
and then they drive off to a very
which I thought was very cute.
Yes, of course. I mean, it's 90s, right? So let's go a couple behind the scenes off the bat. Okay.
Hit me with some Fugitive behind the scenes.
Here we go. The plot of this movie is crazy, and it's deep, and it's awesome to me. And here's the thing. Most of this plot was written by the director, Tommy Lee Jones, and Harrison Ford.
Like the three of them were sitting down together writing this movie?
Yes, because there was a writer's strike thing going on, and so the screenwriter was fucking terrible. The only thing that he wrote was basically the beginning of Kimball's bus ride to the end of the train, and then he had a fit and basically left. And so almost half of these fucking scenes in this movie were written the day of the filming of the scene.
No way.
Yeah, I know. It's fucking ridiculous. What? And so here's what's crazy, dude. They had a rough outline of what was going to how this was going to go and shit like that. Yeah. The pharmaceutical angle was completely came up by Tommy Lee Jones and Harrison Ford together.
Yeah.
They just came up with that, let's have him with the pharmaceutical thing, and we'll say that he's tied to that and all this and shit. All that came up by them.
What the fuck, dude?
I know. The parade scene, I already brought that up.
Clearly they're talented human beings.
Of course. And they've been doing a lot of shit at this point. So I want to give you the budget for this first. $44 million.
$44 million. Okay.
Over $1 million was used for the train scene.
Just the train scene.
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
A real train was used.
Of course.
It
looked like it.
The only thing they did is take the main part of the engine out. Okay. And then just like put it on their own like mechanical wheels and all this other shit, so it didn't have the heaviness of the engine.
Yeah.
But all of that shit was filmed with a bus, real train, and shot in a single fucking shot.
Yeah.
The whole fucking
You only
thing
get one shot of that shit.
Exactly.
Yeah, wow.
And the scene it's perfect. I mean, really,
it's such a nothing scene.
Right.
It happens at the beginning of the movie, and it doesn't really serve the plot.
Yes.
But holy shit that they do the fuck out of this scene.
Yeah.
If nothing else, I was just like, oh, they're taking this shit seriously.
Right. Yeah. $44 million budget, $380 million made off.
Yeah, that's good. Good for them.
90s, not worldwide like movies are nowadays.
Sure,
So a few other numbers. Considered to be the 5th best action movie of the 90s.
Okay.
Rotten Tomato score on this fucking thing, 96%. Average rating of 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
Metacritic score, 87. That's must-see fucking TV.
Yeah.
Cinema score, which is another one, A+.
Yeah.
Academy Awards. This is what it was nominated for.
Yeah.
Best Picture, Best Supporting Actor, Best Cinematography, Best Editing, Best Score, Best Sound Editing. And the only thing it did win, though, was Best Supporting, Tommy Lee Jones.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Interesting.
Film Institute's number 33 of the top 100 thrilling movies of all time.
How much? 33?
33 out of 100.
Okay.
For thriller movies.
Sure, yeah.
So that's like Alfred Hitchcock type shit.
Sure. I'm surprised it's so far down there.
I agree.
I don't think I could think of 33 more thrilling movies.
Yeah, I would have to really sit and kind of think about it for a while.
Yeah.
So, The Fugitive, would you recommend this movie?
I would 100% recommend this movie. This movie was fucking surprisingly great. You know, like I had zero problems with this movie.
Yeah.
I was watching it and I was like at the edge of my seat. I liked the characters. I was invested in what was happening. The plot was like, it almost seems, especially in retrospect, pretty simple, but getting there was engaging. It was fun. You know, like there was we talked about it earlier, how the pacing for this movie was either going to be dog shit or it was going to be just phenomenal.
Right.
And it was phenomenal. Mm-hmm. For 2 hours, I was hooked. I was like, give me the next thing. Come on. And because they didn't linger too long, the anxiety level was always like peaked, you know? Like I always was just like, they're right behind him kind of feel.
Yeah.
It felt so cool. The tunnels where they got him in the fucking sewer, and then in the courthouse too. Both those scenes were like hair raising.
Yeah.
And so yeah, man, and I love the confrontation. He's just like, I don't care anymore. You know, he's just walking through the fucking ballroom scene and he's just like, I don't give a shit. You know, like you did this shit. I don't care if cops come at me right now.
Yeah.
You did this shit. I loved it. It was really cool. I feel like the bad guys got their comeuppance in a really like satisfying way. I liked his character too. I liked the little humanizing moments that they trickled in to like show you like, this good guy's a good guy and he's not going to give up, and you know this guy killed his wife and he's going to get him for this before he goes down. Right. I liked it. You felt real determination. There was no suspending my disbelief. This movie was fucking good, man. You know, I always, especially these days, kind of go into these movies expecting a bad movie.
Sure.
And when you were just like the Fugitive, you know, 1993 Harrison Ford movie, I was just like, okay, some more schlocky early 90s shit, you know? And it was none of that. You know, like all of the characters were believable. I was really actually happy that all the Marshal and all of his crew were like these like smart professionals. None of it seemed like contrivance. All of it seemed like he was getting away with it because he was smart enough to do it, and the cops were on his tail because they were smart enough to figure it out. Mm-hmm. It was all just well done. Yeah. What do you think, man? Did it hold up?
Man, what can I say about this movie? There's very little hand holding in this movie.
Yeah.
I love the fact that they don't even really tell you they were there to kill Harrison Ford, but they were there to kill Harrison Ford. That was really what they were, because they were trying to cover up his whole fucking thing. Yeah. It just so happened that he wasn't there because he was called to an emergency. Like he was supposed to be there, and like. They borrowed the cut. Like, they explained everything in the long run, how the guy got in without any sort of thing. So, like...
It made the early shit seem much more believable.
Right.
Yeah, because at the beginning, I was just like, they're just going to throw the book at him. It all made sense in the end.
And here's the other thing about this movie. Because I watch a lot of like Almost Got Away with It and things like that, like on criminal channels and stuff like that. A lot of times chance is what like leads to it's not even like this is like some crazy schemed up thing. It's just a chance that we missed this or a chance that, and they did a lot of that in this movie, which was very authentic as well. The movie's outstanding in the long run. From a film point of view, this is certainly one of the better ones we've done in general, just from a film standpoint. It's crazy because when you think of this movie too, like as a person who's seen this before, you don't think of this like outstanding work of art, but it's like really just this fucking awesome action film. Yes, exactly. And like it's probably forgotten about by some people, but it's just this well-paced action thriller.
The only thing I had ever known about The Fugitive is that there was a movie called The Fugitive.
Yeah,
I never knew anything.
And there was a TV show too, but way
really?
Yeah, like the 60s or something like that. So this is loosely based on that. So with a lot of other adaptions and shit like that. And I've seen this movie. It's got to be at least a dozen times, man. At least a dozen times. I saw it when I was a kid. It was great to go back to it and just sit and watch it again. And like you point out, pacing is just fucking great, man. Breakneck, you're always on the edge of your seat. I was never bored. Right. You know? The music score was fucking awesome too, because it wasn't like intense, but it was like like it would just kind of like had this weird like pace to it and shit. Just really good. And I also like to say, I really like the theme of wrongfully accused people and shit like that. Sure, and that's where, you know, I like a lot of movies to go.
But that was also why at the beginning I told you.
Sure.
I was glad that I knew he was wrongfully accused.
For sure.
Because it really made me care that he needed to that he needed to figure out how to prove that he was wrongfully accused.
Right.
Like
I get you.
If it would have been nebulous, I wouldn't have, like, invested so much.
I think you've changed my mind on it too, because like at first I was like, it would be cool if this was a mystery, but now I kind of more agree with you. And it's something that hits you nice and hard. So here's what I would suggest. Next week, find yourself a nemesis. Battle that nemesis into an old car lot. Have that nemesis frame you for murder so you're arrested, charged, and convicted of the crime. Then when you get free, after he gets free, chase him down and join us live as we cover Demolition Man.
I never know what to say about these anymore. These have become so much. We're not going live.
Are you suggesting that I killed my wife? How dare you? When I came home, there was a man in my house. I fought this man. He had a mechanical arm. You find this man.